Crest today?
Yeah. Cedar
Didn't
Rapids.
it Crest Cedar Rapids today?
I don't know.
I think so. I think
On
it did.
Saturday,
Cedar Rapids, Crest
yeah,
Hill?
it was over
22.
three.
22.
Yeah.
I
That
mean,
lower
they
than
cleared
what they
out
were
of there so
anticipating?
Yes.
quickly. It
3
was-
feet in.
Thank you.
It
Yeah.
wasn't as bad as anybody thought.
Yeah, I feel disappointed. I didn't
So you
go
bought a
up there.
snorkel for
Good.
nothing? You bought a snorkel for nothing?
Did you went
Right.
out on Friday night too? didn't
Yeah,
you?
but
The one
what
comment
you do,
was,
now you got
in 8 years they couldn't build one, so they built one in 3 days.
Okay, we are back.
Well, for breakfast and
We are back from our closed session, and we will continue our meeting. Councilmember Allison.
Your Honor, I move the council approve the drafting of litigation pleadings and, depending upon the response of the entities concerned, to file those pleadings with the Clinton County District Court.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
yes,
Getterman.
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Gaston.
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes our motions, resolutions, and ordinances, and we'll move on to unfinished business. Now, I did hear we wanted to change the order of this. Or- No?
No, that was before the closed
Before
session.
closed
Yeah.
session. Okay. Okay, so we'll start with item number 12, Councilmember Gassman.
Your Honor, I'd like to amend it. The value is 3656.74. It should be 3671.74. And then I'd make a motion to be accepted.
Do I have a second?
I think we're all looking for it.
Oh, wait a minute.
Problems with it.
Where are you?
What, basic, is it the dollar amount's incorrect?
The dollar amount's
Okay.
incorrect on those two.
Okay.
And so I just correcting, it's $15 off, and it's just a $15 correction.
Okay. Is there no second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We can have discussion on it. Councilmember O'Neill.
Thank you, Your Honor. I was wondering why we were splitting these up, but Councilman Gassman had a perfectly good reason. I have a problem with these two and the three I took off. I'll wait till everyone, that's fine. I want to make sure everyone's looking at the same thing.
So they're in,
It's under,
It's the 13th item in the consent agenda.
no, I got the information from.
What's wrong with it?
Behind the track.
well, the dollar amount, Paul's objection is the dollar amount. I have a different objection to all three.
Got it?
The first one, is that 12?
Yeah, 5680, 5680.
But if everyone's there.
Has everybody found that?
When you read the long section of it, it says the tax liens in the amount of all five of these. The property owner, and then it goes on and says, whereas the property owner is receiving this property back and wishes to settle the lien with the city. And the resolution says that the city finance director is authorized to retract this lien in the amount of all, whatever these different amounts are. My question is, why are we retracting a lien because they wish, have they settled it or they haven't settled it?
Well, there's 5 of them. 3
Yeah.
of them are very similar. 3 of them were, there's 2 landlords involved, and they actually had their tenant come in and take responsibility for it, and we transferred the value of the lien to their current sewer bill. So we are taking care of 3 of them with the tenant that incurred the sewer debt. And then the other 2 are liens that were put against properties that have been on a contract sale, but then the contract was, what was the term that you used?
It
Abandoned.
Went to
wasn't
default.
forfeited.
Yeah.
Or it was being forfeited. One had just been forfeited about a month ago, and the other one hadn't been recorded yet.
Right, it's
Okay.
being forfeited but not recorded. So,
Okay.
and those 2, I'm just working with those 2 landlords to take care of it here in this office instead of it being on the property at the county so that it doesn't become subject to tax sale.
So why are we releasing our lien without having the money? That's my question.
You can't take care of it, can you, until it's in our office?
Well, I can't put it on the person's bill, but I have signed documents that says I have from the person, if I'm Anita Dalton and I was the tenant that incurred the sewer bill, I had the people sign and say, please transfer this balance to my existing sewer bill. So I'm pulling it back from the county and placing it back on our current accounts receivable for that person's sewer bill.
So what guarantee do you have from that tenant that we're gonna get our money? Did they
Well-
enter into an agreement?
I had one person set up an ACH and signed a payment agreement. The other people signed the document stating that they were taking responsibility for it, and we now have water shut-off ability, so if they don't pay it, then we can put their account up for water disconnection.
Okay, that takes, what about the other three?
Well, that's 3 of them.
Okay.
The other 2 are the contract sales that fell through and the contracts were voided.
Okay, but
and-
why, I guess my question is, a contract for deed is a whole separate thing between the seller and a buyer that's not going through a normal purchase. Why are we getting in the middle of it and making concessions on sewer bills because somebody's contracted? That, I mean, we worked awful hard getting parameters pretty tight and getting the water shut-off ability. Because someone makes a contract for deed and it doesn't work out, that shouldn't be our.
Yeah, and that's not the
We're not the
main-
referees.
Right, and believe me, I would rather just leave it at the county and let the person pay it. But, I mean, I don't know how much specifics you want me to go to with a detailed conversation that I had with someone, but I had someone tell me, I won't pay my property taxes if this remains as a lien on my property. I will let this property go back to the city and you have to take care of it, rather than me, working with you at the city to maybe get some penalties reduced off of it, take care of it in that way, maybe turn a portion of it over to collections.
So now we got pretty much what you call a threat, just to let it go back. This is way past parameters that, we were talking. This was supposed to be pretty, either come and pay it or your water gets shut off, you come and pay it, make a payment agreement. We're now putting your office in the middle of being a referee for contract for deeds, which is ludicrous. I mean, I just don't see where we need to get in the middle of these things where it's already set up and we've already seen the fact that they owe us the money and we filed a lien, and now they wish to come forward and do it, and they want the lien released. That's, I'm not going there.
You still have water shut-off capability if it's sent to the county?
No, not if it's lien,
So you
placed
can
as a
kind of
tax
force their
lien.
hand that way as well, if we bring it back,
For 3 of them, yeah.
for 3 of them.
Yep,
So if it stays as a lien and they don't pay their taxes, they don't pay their lien, it gets sold for back taxes or gets sold if someone buys it.
correct.
And at what point would we ever get the money? It takes 3 years, at least.
That's correct.
And if it goes back to them and they don't make their payments or whatever, we can just shut their water off if we don't have it as a lien. Is that, you put it in the simple terms?
3 of the 5, yes.
Okay.
In your opinion, that's probably the best way to go? That's why you recommended this?
Yes.
This is kind of, you think about it, like a foreclosure typically might have liens on the house, and the person that it got foreclosed on, it never goes back to. It always gets stuck with the property. So this is kind of this, when you forfeit a contract, it's essentially a foreclosure on the property, so. But. doesn't seem
Which
like
we
a whole
really
lot of
shouldn't have
options
anything to do
here
with.
either. What's that?
I said, which we should have nothing to do with. We're not a referee service. I mean, I don't know why we're even thinking about getting into this.
It'll be our problem one way or the other, I feel like. I mean, if they're gonna abandon the building, then we've got an abandoned building we're
Well,
gonna be
you know,
dealing
if
with,
you
know what I
want,
mean?
I guess if you want to cave into threats or intimidation, that's fine. But, the fact of the matter is that there's a whole system set up that we spent a better part of a year putting together. And now someone's come in and says, well, if you don't, then I'm not going to do this. Well, that may be one time out of, $4 million or $3 million that we were in past due, and now we got a new game in town that we're gonna come in and say, if you don't do it, we're gonna let the property go back.
Well, we're talking about a lot of general terms. We've got 5 different pieces of property. Let's go back and just talk about one at a time, because we've got different ones that have different issues.
Sure, let me grab my packet.
So we can just talk about one at a time here, because we're not trying to approve all of them at once or disapprove them all. this first piece, I don't know what the situation is for the first one, just.
Yeah,
what's
I
in
kinda
the-
The first one is a contract sale.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. But it also is the incorrect amount as, Councilmember Gassman has already.
Right, and I asked Paul to pull the 12 and 13 because I forgot to add the $15 filing fee at the county for
Okay.
those
I
two.
wondered where he got
So
it.
that's-
was
yeah.
wondering,
I was
where
looking
did
at
you
too,
get
I was
the
like, this
Yeah.
guy's
That's
good.
because I am the odd.
Okay, so let's talk about item number 12, which is a contract sale that
Yep.
has gone belly up.
Right.
And the person that's getting it back is requesting that.
So it's a lien of $3,671.74.
Okay.
The man came into my office, said, "What can I do to take care of this? If this stays on my taxes, I will not pay my taxes, and this property is going to go for a tax sale. I'm not going to pay the taxes, and it'll be your problem to deal with." So I conferred with Jessica, our city administrator. I said, what do you think I should do in this regard? I too am not wanting people to start coming into my office and making threats against me that I'm just going to cave in and give in to them. But we discussed it and felt that maybe there was a better way that we could handle this one than just having it be placed on their property taxes as a lien.
Okay, has he offered to make payments?
I haven't gotten that far. I told him I had to bring it to you guys before the city council, and then I can't negotiate with him until I know that I can pull it back.
What's the assessed value?
Wait, this is a contract sale, so he wants it to go back to the prior contract holder.
He would like me to turn it over to collections, right, for the
Yeah.
person that incurred the debt. That
Do we
is-
know where that person is?
No, I do not know where
So
that person is.
this one maybe we're chasing, but you're right. I agree with what you're saying though. If he's just gonna quit paying taxes and it's gonna be an abandoned house, it'll be a good thing we.
What's the house
but it-
worth?
I don't.
I think it's 38,000 or 42,000,
But if
something
the
like that.
person,
3 years.
if the person in the contract didn't pay the
Yeah, that's
contract,
what I'm
what
trying to-
in
Yeah.
God's name do you think they're gonna pay $3,000 for past water? I mean, that's just ludicrous. They didn't fulfill their contract for deed. Why would they come back and pay $3,600 for, could you put them in collections?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying that was
There's a reason why they were in a contract for deed in the first place.
Okay, well,
And keep in mind,
I mean, you
I
as a
guess what she's
council-
trying to say is she can't negotiate with him at any point until
Right.
it gets either
Yeah.
yay or nay from us. So
Well, the option is to leave it as a lien on the property or to bring it back and have a negotiation. But maybe it's premature to want to release the lien until maybe, well, if we release the lien, are you going to pay for it?
I think.
And work out the terms prior to, if you're willing to make payments to it, we'll release the lien. And if he
Yeah.
says, no, I'm not, then leave it
Then-
as a lien.
yeah.
But you just said he wants to go back to the
Well, we're
the
not
owner.
gonna do that because we're
No.
not gonna get
right,
that person.
and that's what
Well,
that's
I'd
what he
get 'em back
asked
to you
me
and
to do
put
in
'em on
my
a payment
office,
plan,
but
and then we'll release the lien.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a very fair way. If he's willing to take a payment plan to pay it off, we'd pull the lien back, but
Well,
no, we're not gonna go after the person.
Can the lien be pulled back incrementally?
no, it has to
It has to
be
be
all
all
or
once.
nothing.
Well, we'd pull it back if he entered in and signed the documents to enter into a payment
Yeah,
plan.
but then the recourse for that,
It's
even,
just shut off the water.
and then someone else buys it on contract, and then nothing.
Well, okay, if he sells it on contract again.
The
I
house
mean,
has got the.
You
Then we
can't,
should get it
you know what,
paid.
you can't fix stupid. I mean, that's all there is to it. Well, I mean, I'm sorry. You know, he gets in here tomorrow, makes a payment agreement with her, then we've got some standing, and then she can release the lien when it comes back to the next meeting. But this is just craziness.
I'm not sure that's gonna rectify the issue, though.
But rectifying the issue
we
is
have to
not
do
going
something.
after
If we
somebody who's never
release
gonna-
the lien and sign it, and he sells the house tomorrow for $5,000 and makes one $100 payment on the agreement and walks away, we're done. We have no. Right now, we can, if he ever sold the property, we can obtain $3,671. If we release that and he pays $100 and sells the property and doesn't pay another dime, we're out that money.
But if he comes in and gets a payment agreement, like everybody else does, we'll have a payment agreement, and then he can do whatever he wants with the property if he sells it. And
How much recourse do we have with the payment agreements?
Well, then if he did what you suggested, then I would be turning it over to collections against
him,
him and not the tenant.
But he has resources because he sold a property on contract. He still
Right.
has some
the
resources.
payment agreement then she could turn it over to collections against the seller.
Yeah, this
The
person.
buyer doesn't, let's face it, the buyer doesn't
Yeah,
have the money, they're
person
not
in the
gonna pay
wind,
it.
we're never gonna collect money
Yeah,
from.
no. No, you're dreaming.
Huh.
So, but you need the dollar amount fixed regardless if we're
Yeah,
approving.
just on 12 and 13, yes.
Okay, so the first item really is a motion to correct the dollar amount.
Correct.
Okay, so Paul, would you like to retract your first motion, or did you just make the motion to change the dollar amount, or did you make it and to also approve it? Which did you do?
All of it.
Okay, would you retract that and just have a
Sure.
motion to fix the dollar amount?
Okay, the dollar amount of 3656.74 is incorrect. The correct dollar amount is 3671.74.
Second, okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to correct the dollar amount of this incorrect resolution. Is there any other discussion on just that part of this, dealing with this particular item? Hearing none, could we
Yes.
have roll call, please?
Councilmember McGraw,
Yes.
Detterman.
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Gassman.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
Okay, the second part is now whether the council wishes to retract the lien or to have Anita really go out and see if he's willing to make payments on it, at which point we would retract the lien. Would that be correct? That pretty much?
That'd be up to Paul, but I think if we wanna, if we're not gonna retract liens until we get paid, then we can do all 5 inclusively.
Well, all of them don't have dollar amount
Well,
years, do they?
Is
No,
getting,
No.
only 12 and 13 have dollar amount.
right, but is getting paid having a payment program or being paid up front? I think if you get the property back where you have some control over it, like shutting the water off, you have a chance to have a better negotiation. When it's leaned to the county, there's nothing we can do.
No, we just have to wait
And we'll
till-
wait forever and
yeah.
we'll maintain it. We'll spend that much in cutting the grass for 3 years.
True.
Yeah,
You know?
but we're laying the groundwork for how not to pay your
Okay.
sewer bill for
But
dummies.
can we
Just-
shut the water
yeah.
off?
Yeah.
This is somebody else that incurred the,
But he's he's taking on the debt.
No.
The property owner is.
I thought he was.
Not until we have a payment agreement.
Well, that's what I said, that he'd have to agree to that in order to.
Which I don't think he probably will we?
Well, you
So
can get
what?
that before you pull the
That's not-
lien.
Well,
That's all
what I
we're
thought,
saying.
That,
Make the motion that you get the payment plan before you.
yeah, that she enter into a conversation to see if he's willing to accept a payment plan, at which point then the lien could be retracted. Failure to enter into any type of payment plan, the lien stays the way it is. Does that sound
Yeah.
acceptable? Would you like to make that as a motion, so I don't have to repeat that again?
Cody's kind of,
You don't like
I
that?
feel like we're redoing our whole operation right here on a whim, and I'm
No.
concerned about that.
No,
No, we're asking for a payment,
we're at,
or staying lien.
This is a situation we haven't addressed before, and we're determining how to address it from here on out, basically. So I'm concerned.
I
'Cause I'm
think
not
we're
sure
saying, yeah,
this
but I
is-
think we're staying with the same spirit of how we set this up. You make a payment agreement, you get your sewer bill paid up, you're okay. You don't take off the lien because someone threatens to do something. You
That's
get,
what we're going to do.
no, we're getting a payment
Yes.
agreement first. That's,
Yes, but here's the deal. That payment agreement does not rectify this full amount if they don't follow through with it. If a bank forecloses on a property, the lien is with the property, and the bank, before they sell it, they pay that lien.
Yeah, but with the agreement, the
Yeah.
person doesn't pay it, he's gonna have his credit ruined and everything else. And it'll go to collections. That's
Yeah.
better than what you got now.
The owner's deal is that everything falls on the person that backed out of the contract.
I think that person is responsible.
No,
It's too
well-
bad that they are not.
No,
They
Well-
probably didn't have when your department came out with back in, I don't know, was it 09 or 11? I don't know when they came out with the signing your tenants over with their.
Oh, that wasn't until like 14. so-
Okay, so when that came out, this was probably a property that didn't have that in place. I'm assuming because otherwise you would have
Well,
had the tenant on the
'cause
hook.
it's-
For that.
There's
There's
a
a big
contract.
distinction there
Yeah.
that is only allowed for rental properties only.
not
This was a
contract.
contract sale, so contract sales are not eligible for that protection.
Okay. So, well, I guess what's our danger, if he enters into an agreement and we retract the lien, because he's entered into the agreement, not because he said he's not gonna pay for the bill. He defaults on his
payment agreement.
payment,
Okay.
we could relien the property.
I was hoping that by placing these on the consent agenda, you would just trust me as your finance director to act in the best interest of the city, and that we wouldn't have this in-depth discussion for people that are watching to then figure out how to get out of their liens.
Well, that's exactly what we're teaching them to do, unless we just follow the plan and put him on a payment plan, and if he wants to be on a payment plan, that's fine. I'll retract the lien, but not until I got something right.
Let's hear from the city attorney.
The practical legal import of entering into a payment plan, which is contractual in nature, and by so doing, as the mayor has suggested, then you could release the lien, is that your remedy now shifts from sitting on a lien at the county to the ability to go into collections. You could file small claim suits, and a judgment would follow the individual debtor who incurred the service. So what the finance director is suggesting is that you would shift the emphasis for collection from the typical liening process, which is passive, and you don't get anything until the property is sold or until somebody takes care of the lien, to one where they enter into a contract with us to pay it off, and if they fail, then there's a breach of contract action that lies in that. So it's not that you don't have any recourse, and I don't think it sends a signal to the public that the city's going to back off. It's just, she's just saying there's another way to approach this to get the money, and neither one is good for the person that owes it. It's just that she's saying in these particular 5 cases, it makes more sense to collect it in the traditional manner without using the Iowa Code and the liening process, and instead going, you either pay us or we may sue you. We may just go get a judgment against you individually, and it won't follow with the land anymore or the property anymore, but it will follow your name. So, judgment call, I don't necessarily think we're changing city policy. What we're saying is that in these individual 5 parcels here, we're authorizing that. So I agree with Councilmember Seeley that you don't want to set a precedent. We're going to do that all the time. But I think the import of this, it would just apply to the ones on the agenda.
But we're also showing that you just, because you asked to have a lien reduced, you don't take it away. You're actually making them commit to paying it, or we're gonna come after you if you don't pay it. It gives us different recourse than we had with the lien.
Exactly. It's not necessarily a bad thing, what she's saying. It's just another way to crack the nut, and it puts pressure on them in a different way.
Because you could go to small claims court with a $3,600 default.
Yes.
And since the person does own property, you can get a judgment against the property.
Anita, assuming this conversation with this gentleman, do you think it's likely he'll come in and sign a payment plan, or is he gonna want the prior person that racked up this bill to come in and sign a payment plan?
He's gonna want the prior person to do it, but
Okay.
that doesn't mean
So-
that that's what I'm going to be able to offer to him.
Well, that's the decision. The bill really, the property is liened because of a person living in his property racked up the bill. So the bill truly is not his, and I respect that. So are we gonna make him sign a payment plan?
That's not, no.
Because I don't see how we're giving him any sort of deal by wiping the lien away and putting him on a payment plan. We're not helping him. Because the lien can sit there on that property, and it's not impacting him, and he can pay it as he wants. It's
He
setting
said
up a
he's
payment.
not gonna
Oh,
pay.
that's,
Well, yeah.
My-
So why would he agree to a payment plan?
My thought is if this is one that the council wishes to negotiate on, that we not spend any more time talking about this one specifically, since there are 4 others which are similar in different circumstances, and that we would just ask that this be placed on a committee of the whole to come back to you if you wish to negotiate with the gentleman on how this would work.
If he hasn't paid him, he's not gonna pay a payment plan.
No, he would want the prior person to come and set up a payment plan,
well,
but
I would,
that
I'd like
person-
someone else to pay my bills too, but it ain't gonna
No.
happen.
And the
It's not
property owner
realistic.
doesn't owe the money.
The
It was the
the
person-
property owner is the
He
property
does
owner.
too.
Well, he does now, you're right,
Yeah.
but he didn't rack up the bill.
Well,
Doesn't matter.
not our problem.
That's called an education.
And if that's not our
We're-
problem, then we should just say no to this and move on.
No, we should just get a payment plan and move on.
Well, I'm hearing that there's, well, I guess, is there a motion to do one or the other to this particular, we don't have anything. I offered one,
I think what you offered was, I'll go ahead and make the motion that these get referred back, and all these get on a payment plan, and then we'll release the liens.
Okay, there's individual circumstances with each one of
Yeah,
these.
we gotta do
And
each one
maybe
separately.
part of the problem tonight is you're seeing 5. I mean, you've seen these before on the consent agenda, maybe just one here and one there. And I've pulled them back, and I've worked with the person in our office. These aren't personal friends of mine. I'm not writing off the debt. I'm just trying to find a better way to handle it with them. So there's 5 on here because of the timing of when they occurred. people got their property tax statements at the end of August or first part of September, and surprise, there's the liens on there.
Yeah.
So I had an influx. The second one is the second one is one where the landlord came in and said, hey, that was this tenant and that person lives here. I contacted the tenant. They came in, they paid it. So I have to pull it back. The next one is similar situation. There's one where the landlord is the same, and I think that's number 14 and number 15. I typed up a document. His people came into my office, signed the document, and we're transferring those balances to their current sewer bills because they have sewer in their names. And then the last one is another commercial property where it was a contract sale that went bad.
Each
So
one, each
I
one's
would-
very different.
I would propose, I think the contract, the standard way of doing business with the rental properties, we understand that. It's these contract sales that are a little different.
Right,
So
number
that would
12 and
be-
number 16 are the contract
Number
sale
12 and
ones.
16, I think those are the ones that I would not support moving forward with, and the others
Well,
are,
Well, the item that's on the floor for discussion is 12, so so you have, is there any motion to do anything with 12? If not, it's gonna die and not get approved and just stay where it is.
No, I'd make a motion to get an agreement if possible with the owner. He's gonna have to pay it whether he incurred the debt or not. And we would be in a better position if we had this not liened. So I would want to pull it back with this agreement.
If there's an agreement.
Yes, mhm,
Okay. Okay, is that your motion?
yes,
Do
Your
we have a
Honor.
second?
that's for
that?
number 12?
Yes.
We're just dealing with number 12.
That he's gonna sign a contract, or payment agreement?
She's gonna negotiate with them.
Gonna negotiate for an agreement. If failure to get an agreement, the lien would stay in place.
The owner.
The owner, yes. the
Second.
owner. We're not going after the defaulted purchaser.
Why would you?
You're not
That's
gonna
what
get
I
it.
meant.
Yeah. Okay, is there any other discussion on that? Hearing none, could we have roll call vote on number 12, please?
Councilmember Gassman?
Yes,
Seeley?
no.
McGraw?
Yes.
Detterman?
Yes.
O'Neill?
Yes.
Connell?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Thank you. Let's go to number 13, Councilmember Gassman.
Your Honor, that amount of the lien was 748.89, and it should be 763.89. I move that be changed as read.
Second?
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the change? Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Gassman?
Yes,
Seeley?
Yes.
McGraw?
Yes.
Detterman?
Yes.
O'Neill?
Yes.
Connell?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, item number 13, could you explain that one to us, please? And then we'll decide what we're doing.
That's the one that you just amended the amount.
Yes. Is that all that's
No.
needed?
Rental property or contract?
It's
Yeah.
a rental property.
Okay.
And an agreement's been worked out?
Yes.
Okay.
so I move that just be approved as read.
Second?
A motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Gassman?
Yes,
Seeley?
Yes.
McGraw?
Yes.
Detterman?
Yes.
O'Neill?
Yes.
Connell?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Thank you. And we'll move to number 14, Councilmember O'Neill. Should we have the history of that? Is that a rental property also?
It's a rental property and a payment arrangement has already been established.
Okay.
Okay, then, with the payment arrangement already established, I'll move that we, accept the, removal of the lien with the payment agreement in place.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Gassman?
yes,
Seeley?
Yes.
McGraw?
Yes.
Detterman?
Yes.
O'Neill?
Yes.
Connell?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Thank you. Number 15, same rental property?
Rental property with a payment arrangement already in place.
Councilmember O'Neill?
I move we accept the recommendation to remove the lien with the payment arrangement already in place.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Gassman?
yes,
Seeley?
Yes.
McGraw?
Yes.
Detterman?
Yes.
O'Neill?
Yes.
Connell?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Thank you. And now number 16, the situation on this one, please.
Number 16 is a commercial property that the contract that was being sold on contract, the contract buyer defaulted on the contract, and the contract is going back to the property owner. We had liened a portion of this one, and we had sent the rest of it when the person vacated, and we got final water billing to collections under the contract buyer's name. In the interim, there was an adjustment that got applied to what got sent to collections, because they had this is a messy one. There was a sewer, there was a water bill where she had a leak and it was too much, and then the water company issued a credit. So the amount that we would have turned over to collection for the contract buyer is greatly reduced by that adjustment, and the first part got liened, the second part got turned over to collection agency. So I was gonna pull the whole thing back, package it with what went with the contract buyer, and decide if I was gonna turn it over to collections or pull the collections piece back and file a judgment against the person.
So you still have the contract, or the leasee or whatever, you still have that contact information? And that's really who you're gonna try to get this back
Yes.
from? Okay.
Have you spoke with her at all?
No, I haven't had a personal conversation with I'm not sure who asked that question. Oh, I have not had a personal conversation with the contract buyer, only the owner of the property.
And what's he say, or she say?
That it's
Will
not-
they enter, will they enter into a payment plan?
I didn't discuss a payment plan with the property owner on that one.
Your discussion has been with the defaulted purchaser.
Right, but I can't say it's been a discussion. We've, yeah.
So it hasn't gone well.
No, of the 5, the first one and the last one
Yeah.
are messy ones that
So
is
your
going to.
recommendation is you wanna pull it back from being a lien and you wanna deal
Right,
with it?
so I can package it with what we've already sent to collections, whether that be pull back what we've already sent to collections and file a judgment against this gal, which is a significant amount of money. I probably would do that. That would be our best course of action for collection.
So instead of leaning, you would actually, in worst case scenario, you'd rather file for a judgment against them.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to approve that.
Second.
Is there any discussion or questions?
So this is going against the person that defaulted on the
Mhm.
contract for deed.
Correct.
Any other questions? Could we have roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Gassman?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
McGraw?
Yes.
Detterman?
Yes.
O'Neill?
No.
Connell?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Thank you. And then the last one is item number 1, Councilmember Connell. Do you need to abstain?
Yes, I do.
Okay, would
Thank
someone
you.
else like to present item number 1 then, please?
I move that we accept claims received, approved, and placed on file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Gassman?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
McGraw?
Yes.
Detterman?
Yes.
O'Neill?
Yes.
Connell?
Abstain?
Allison?
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes our unfinished business, and we'll move to Councilmember Detterman.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move we adjourn to 7 PM, October 11th, 2016.
Second.
Motion and a second. Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Gassman?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
McGraw?
Yes.
Detterman?
Yes.
O'Neill?
Yes.
Connell?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Thank you. We are adjourned, and but we will move immediately into the Clinton City Council Committee of the Whole for September 27th. And whenever our city clerk is ready, she'll begin with roll call.
Councilmember Gassman?
Here.
Seeley? McGraw?
Yes.
Detterman?
Here.
Here.
O'Neill?
I'm here.
Connell?
Here.
Allison? Here.
Thank you. Our first item tonight is a Convention and Visitors Bureau update with Carrie Denaire.
Good evening. Excuse me. Good evening, Your Honor, Council. It's time for my quarterly update to you. So first, I'd like to start with just a laundry list of highlights from the summer. I have a couple preview items and things that are coming up on the calendar, and then I'll finish my report with the quarterly financials that were included in your packet. First of all, a successful Arts at the Arb, a collaboration among the Convention and Visitors Bureau, Bickelhop Arboretum, Clinton Community College, and we really were able to host a fine arts exhibit at the Arboretum in both August and September. So we were pleased to be working on that this summer. American Queen had 2 successful full-day stops in the Clinton community, so very sad to see the last 2 have been canceled due to the high waters. That is disappointing for everyone who has put time and organization into that, especially for the attractions and shopping stops on those tours who work so hard. But Mother Nature has her mind made up, and so the American Queen is currently touring between Red Wing, Minnesota, and La Crosse, Wisconsin, which is a short little piece of the river, and they have been unable to get downriver from there. So the final stop that was scheduled in Clinton has also been canceled. The CVB this summer also worked on the FAB project, flower beds and beautification along riverfront. So that turned out to be a really cool idea and very successful. We have 15 different volunteer groups to thank in the community. Both businesses, individuals, and many different groups have participated. I think last summer, I personally got a lot of inquiries about what to do about keeping the flowers up and keeping them weeded and watered. And so this was just a great idea that snowballed into an Adopt a Flower Bed program. So I'd like to thank the city for their work on that and collaboration, everyone who pitched in, and also Parks and Rec who helped with getting flowers ordered. So we hope to collaborate again on that next season, next summer. So that was the FAB project. The Convention and Visitors Bureau Board held a strategic planning session in late June. That was a long time coming, but we were really happy to bring in an outside facilitator from the Grinnell area. And we did a board strategic planning. We looked at a 4 to 5 year term for our overall work plan, so that was successful. And then also narrowing it down to some immediate goals for this year, including really seeing the CVB as a clearinghouse for some of the event information, building on what we've done with the community calendar, but continuing to work with all of our partners in the area, including everything from the hotels and attractions, but also some of the events that have grown and become signature events for the community. So that everything's going great with that. I'm just happy to have seen that now take place, because we talked for a long time about having that planning session. Wayfinding project continues. We will have this Thursday, the 29th actually, at 2 p.m., a community stakeholders meeting. And the Augustana professor with the Sustainable Working Landscapes Initiative, Matthew Faulkner, will be here to facilitate that meeting. So one of Augustana's recommendations to us was to really reach out to the community to express some of the findings from those assessments and work with the community. So we will be hosting that meeting later this week. You can ask questions at any time, but I'm trying to tick through my list because I don't want to get long-winded. I know want to honor your time, and I know there's some items left on the agenda. Celebrate Clinton Image Campaign continues. We're pleased to announce, in collaboration with both the Chamber and CVB and other partners, that we have secured grant funding for that. So we're really happy to roll out the full local image campaign as well as a regional image campaign. The regional campaign will be co-branded Visit Clinton, Iowa with Celebrate Clinton. So we're working on that. We've had a couple recent meetings, so I'm happy to see that gain some traction. And then some upcoming events. We are pleased the Clinton community will host the Department of Cultural Affairs in late October. So they have reached out to us, really hoping to get a sense of our community's plan for anything related to the Iowa Arts Council, the Iowa Film Office, the SHPO is the State Historic Preservation Office. Thank you, Jessica. And so they'll be meeting with us here for a community tour on Tuesday, October 25th. We'll do a tour, a presentation, and then there will be an opportunity for some conversation with them and kind of kicking some ideas around from 4 to 5 p.m. October 25th at the Lodge. So the host committee is working diligently on that to make sure that they have a great experience when they're here. Regionally, the Eastern Iowa Tourism Association, as you know, I'm involved pretty heavily with Eastern Iowa as a region, and I'm pleased to announce that Clinton will host a membership meeting for the Tourism Association on January 4th. Very excited to have them here in our community to host them. That will likely be, the speaker has not been secured, but that will likely be either a lobbyist or someone representing the Travel Federation of Iowa, as it will be legislative session time, and that will be an opportunity for us as a community to present our issues and host them here in Clinton. Also related to Eastern Iowa tourism, a special project that secured from some state funding from the Iowa Economic Development Authority are hospitality trainings. This is another topic that has really come up over my entire tenure at the CVB, really looking at that frontline customer service, people's experience in our community, and this ties in directly with the community image campaign. So I'm also very pleased to let you know that Clinton will be a host community for a hospitality training. I have had some initial conversations, but I have not yet put together the host committee for what will that training be? How many can we accommodate? Where will we host it? So if anyone has questions or interest about that, please contact me. Another upcoming project is a Parks to People project. It's a pilot project at the state level with the goal to erase some of the boundaries for why people travel in different areas. So our information at a county level for Clinton will be included in a website called the Grant Wood Loop. So basically parks, trails, anything related to outdoor recreation. So I'm the contact for Clinton for this project, and I've reached out to the County Conservation Board, to DeWitt Parks and Rec, Clinton Parks and Rec, as well as our Parks and Rec Advisory Committee. So just kind of pulling together all the information for that, just another opportunity for us to market with a different audience and at a regional level. Okay, some upcoming tournaments and conventions. Iowa Bass Nation will be here the beginning of May. They will be the first group to really formally utilize the 25th Avenue North Pavilion area, the restrooms that are there, the ramp and dock area. So let's hope for lower water at that time, or just like exactly at the ideal level so the dock is able to be in place for them. Also a Sea Dory boat group. You just have to Google it. Sea Dory boats. They're a special kind of boat, and I think this group, I would liken them to the Cessna pilots fly-in. They just like their kind of brand of thing that they do, and they get together every year. So this year they met in Hannibal, Missouri. They find a marina to host them. They get together. They go on some side trips and tours. And so next year they'll be hosted in September, the weekend after Labor Day at the Clinton Marina. And I've been working with Cindy on that. And we will also be hosting the Women's State Bowling Tournament again. So we were uncontested for our bid to host. Clinton and Comanche will be working together again in 2019. So that was really nice to see that made official at their state board level a couple weeks ago. And nobody bid against us. There are some changes at the state level with men's and women's bowling being combined. So there will not be a convention that year, or we would not host a convention. But for the overall tournament, we will host in 2019. So I'm very excited about that. And I will go with the bowling associations to Des Moines this spring, in March, I believe it is, to host and really encourage people to sign up for our tournament. But they have already chosen our community. Two more items. I have a this was just this past weekend, so this does not correspond in any way to the quarterly financials that you see, but we were very successful in our hosting of Fly Iowa. Fly Iowa travels to a different community in the state every year, and they chose Clinton for this year to really highlight the new terminal and hangar at the Clinton Municipal Airport. It, by their specifications, has an air show component, has a youth aviation rally component, and then really the rest of it is up to the community. What theme you choose, what sort of social events, if you really do kind of some family-friendly stuff. So we got great marks from the Iowa Aviation Promotion Group. We had a lot of positive feedback from the Civil Air Patrol, even as for safety and how we organize the event. Excuse me. We had in the low 2000s for attendees, which I considered to be a major event. I mean, it was we definitely had 600-700 cars in and out of there. Mike Nass, your airport manager, worked very hard on this event. The whole committee did. And we couldn't have done it without support from the CCDA, many generous sponsorships from businesses and individuals, a very dedicated committee, a long list of volunteers, and then really, the public supported it, so we were very pleased. The air show was delayed a little bit, but
If I could
Yes,
interrupt,
yeah, of
every
course.
one of those people brought about 3 kids, and they all wanted to be in the bounce houses.
And I thought, what would we have done without the bounce house? Because the air show was delayed by about an hour and a half, and there were a lot of kids, and they were,
Oh, yes.
looking for something to do.
I never worked that hard.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. So very happy to have had a successful event.
Yeah,
Tom?
and I think it was great that it was Clinton County, Space County. I think, that goes back, 30-some years ago. A lot of people, I think, have forgot about that.
I don't recall when the Discovery Trail was dedicated. I don't know what
In the
year that would have
80s.
been. Yeah. So even think about these kids now, they have not heard this story told. So when neither of the two living astronauts was able to come home for this, we reached out and neither was able to come. We said that really the next best thing would be to create this video. So the video, we showed it Friday night at the Chamber's Steak Fry. We showed it Saturday, but definitely didn't catch everyone. So we will make that video available. I had a couple inquiries about that. We're happy to share it. That's a story our community needs to continue to tell. And it was an easy theme for us. I mean, what could we do that no other community could do? And then this was it. So that was pretty fun. I will just can I put my financials up here for you to take a look there? Does anybody need a copy of the quarterly financials? I'm happy to take questions. I can walk through. These correspond to June, July, and August 2016. Our fiscal year is June 1 to May 31 at the Chamber. So you see it's divvied out into $16,667 per month based on a $200,000 annual budget. So we're pretty good for income. There is some miscellaneous income associated with the Shore Excursions of America. We do receive a stipend when the American Queen comes, and we in turn at the CVB redistribute that to the attractions who work with us. So that is the income side. The bulk of it obviously from hotel motel tax per our agreement with the city. I don't have anything out of the ordinary to report for any of our personnel or overhead expenses. But I will point out that under salaries, June and July is just one full-time person, and then at the end of July, our part-time marketing coordinator started. So she is at about 15 to 20 hours a week. So you have one full-time person, and then in August you see a full-time and a part-time.
How long will that go for?
I hope she never leaves. I would love to. I mean, she's a great fit. Ari, she's a marketing coordinator, but she's very talented. She helped immensely. Actually, she did this whole book. She put this all together. The Herald was our publisher on this, but she did all of the layout, collaborated with all of the sponsors. So we hope she never goes anywhere.
Carrie, we still don't have a separate balance sheet for this.
I do not. I have it pulled from the chamber financials.
Okay.
But that's something I can ask about, Lynn. I'd be happy to ask if we can do it as a separate balance sheet. I remember we had that conversation last winter. It just is because it's under the same tax ID. It's we're included under the chamber financials. Is my understanding of it. But I can ask that question again.
What was the community development expense that spiked in August?
Right, that was a contribution to the Arts at the Arb. So the Paul Scherer Foundation of Clinton Community College and the CVB provided most of the funding for that.
Hotel motel tax looks like it's hanging in there pretty well.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Julie. Yeah, always we keep our eyes on those numbers. We love to have seen the growth in the last couple of years, so we hope to see it growing. I'm continuing to hear good feedback about guest experience at our hotels. Here's the flip side of the sheet, just some more programming. There are some numbers missing from August that I attribute to the totals are there, but this was during a transition with the new business manager at the chamber. So I inquired about that today, just seeing those under programming. I think what I believe happened, for example, under advertising and co-op advertising, we have advertising that goes year long. I think it may have just been timing on when invoices were coded and input. So we plan to revisit the August financials.
Well, and it's always difficult because the quarter only gets paid out 2 months after the actual quarter end date. So she's always having to manage it at the end of the fiscal year.
Mm-hmm. And we try, and we do, Julie, we do try, I'm sure, as you always did, you look at where you are at the quarter to update, but you still have to have your annual budget and all planned out. So we try to spend ahead, but luckily we have the problem that it's almost impossible to spend it ahead. It keeps coming in. So that's a great problem to have. I don't want that to change either.
Well, it looks like you're budgeting 16.6
Mm-hmm.
and you came in at 18. So that's really good.
Thank you. Any questions? Always appreciate your calls and input and questions at any time. I mean, it's a great time for tourism in our community. There's a lot going on. I'm not bored. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Carrie.
Carrie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. For the sake of some people that we have in the audience, we're going to move a couple items up so that they'll be able to get on with their evenings. And we're going to jump down to item number 4, which is the sidewalk variance request for 6th Avenue North. This will be the 3rd time it's come before the council. So I guess I'm going to just open it up for discussion amongst the council. Is there a motion to move it forward? What do you want to do with this? Councilmember O'Neill.
Well, since our last meeting, got the information that there's also a request to the zoning board for a variance, and they have yet not got the information or notification to the neighbors. So we've got several things that need variances, and I really question the planning aspect of this. We found this out about the sidewalk being wanted to be tore up 4 weeks ago. And then seems like there's another request back here for an alley to be vacated. That this is the first time planning on this, and this is on the courthouse property. And again, we haven't changed the ordinance, we haven't changed the requirement to have a sidewalk, and I need an overwhelming reason to vacate an ordinance and grant any variance from it, and I'm just not seeing it. Some of the stuff for even putting the building up has not been granted. The zoning board, from what I understood, they tabled it because notification to the neighbors has not been made. So I'm not going to be in favor of tearing up the sidewalk and not having a sidewalk there for pedestrians.
I'd like to clarify that the notification has been made to the neighbors. I'm well aware of a certified letter that came.
No.
So, yep.
So it needs to go back to zoning to grant them the variance on that.
Anybody else?
I'll make a motion to move the variance forward.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to move the variance forward, so now we can have further discussion.
I guess I would, I know there's been discussion about this, but I think the last few times we talked about this, we failed to ask our head law enforcement official within our city, who uses this 85% of the time or better. We had county officials here, but we kind of failed to run that by the chief and see what his thoughts were. So if he wouldn't mind just to maybe give us a little input.
Mayor, Council, Kevin Jarian, Chief of Police. I've been approached about this sidewalk just recently, and in my opinion, in the interest of public safety, if you have a choice of a sidewalk in an area where we bring prisoners and drop off prisoners and come out of there, for public safety and the safety of the officers and the custody of the people in custody, I recommend no sidewalk there if we have a choice, in my opinion.
Don't prisoners get dropped off inside the garage?
They do, but sidewalks are walking right past where they drive up, so you're actually encouraging pedestrians to walk past where we have to bring prisoners. So if you have a choice, in my opinion, I would say no.
How is this different than Seventh Avenue North, which have the sidewalks, and they've been driving cars across that?
Well, for one, in my experience, we back out of there. When we're leaving there, we back out. So that's an advantage. You're already going slower. If I had my choice there'd be no sidewalk, but it's already there. So this is a chance to not have a sidewalk. So I would not say tear up a sidewalk, but if I have a choice of putting one there or not, I would say for public safety, we don't need a sidewalk.
But there already is a sidewalk there.
So we are gonna tear it up.
It's a new building, so new construction.
Keep in mind, I think we're looking at a drive-through Sally Port now, whereas you're coming in maybe at a higher rate of speed than you are, or coming out at a higher rate of speed than you are backing out. Why would you? If you get a call and you dropped a prisoner off, and you get a call and you got to go to the next call. I've done quite a few ride-alongs. I don't know if any of you guys you guys have, but I know that when a call comes in, sometimes they got to go, and the paperwork follows later. So I would say if our department is using that, the majority of the time, we have the most liability to that. Pedestrians, kids, whatever may be coming out through there. I'm sure you could put up warning signals, but that's not going to stop people from getting in the way.
You're going on the assumption that the person dropping off a prisoner is the only police officer in town that can go to a call, and that's
Go to a fight call, and you got to have 3 officers respond instead of 1. I mean, that's domestic call. You don't respond alone. Many instances, and I think those are some of the calls that you would probably find that you're going to have more than 1 officer there.
I think the original plans is not what we're being told or seeing today. And so until this gets through the zoning and that, I have no desire to vote to have these sidewalks taken out at this time.
I'd like to comment on that as well, though. Keep in mind, we collectively, I wasn't here then, but had the opportunity to create a public service authority, and that did not happen. We probably would have had a little bit more input on this had the council chose to do so. Now we're sitting kind of in the back seat going, well, we'd like to have this changed, but we chose not to do that how many months ago? So.
And I respect your opinion, but the fact of the matter is, this is an established ordinance that the sidewalk needs to be there. This isn't anything to do about PSA or anything we didn't decide to do. We decided not to do a PSA for a very good reason. And the fact of the matter is, this is not like we want to put a sidewalk in there next to their building. Why not simply just move the building so it's not an issue? The sidewalk's been there. The sidewalk was there previously, ever since the jail's been built on 7th. So, this isn't like we're trying to put a sidewalk in where they don't want one. It's an established sidewalk that's been there for the public for, I don't know how many years, but, so, we're asking for variances on the building, we're asking for variances on an ordinance for the sidewalk, and yet we really haven't even gone, I guess, apparently we do have the letter out now, but, and I agree with Councilman McGraw. I mean, we're way ahead of where we should be, and to just grant a variance on a sidewalk after 3 weeks ago, we forced a man to put back in a sidewalk that he tore up. So, I think the goose and the gander theory comes in here. If it's an ordinance and it's good for one, it's good for the other.
Well, what about a Lien Energy? We just allowed them not to put a sidewalk in
Only temporarily.
Temporarily.
forever until it's
No.
ever needed.
No.
When will that be?
And
But
there's
that's
nothing in
not
there
in
that
the
said
middle of
forever.
town either.
Well, it's out there.
But there was never a sidewalk there to be tore up. You know that. It was a matter of making them put one in when there was no other buildings around it. This is one that's been established and been there for years that they want to tear up and do away with. It's an entirely different scenario.
I think it's also a different scenario than the one that we forced back in, who clearly violated the ordinance. The county has come to the city and said, can we actually remove the sidewalk? They didn't tear it up. They're asking us for the variance. They're following the procedure that we have in place. They didn't just blatantly go and remove it.
You're correct. I agree.
The person that did do that, we made put back in.
How many times do we go to the jail a day as a city?
We use that jail
Too many.
85% of the time, so that's basically our jail. I mean,
Yeah.
it's basically our jail.
I think that's something important that we should be very thankful it's being located where it's at, because it would cost us an awful lot of money if it wasn't. I think there's situations and circumstances for each situation, and I feel, and everybody has their own opinion. I'm fine with that, but I agree that safety is an issue. You know, when you have an officer that just unloaded a prisoner, there's stress, there's different things going on. You get another call, you're going too quickly. Of course, he's being careful, but there's still that one instant where he needs to get somewhere faster than typically, and something happens. And there's a sidewalk on the other side of the street, so it's 20 foot away, and you can walk all the way up it and get where you need to go. So I understand it. I understand if other people don't, because we have an ordinance. I get that too. But there's a time and a place for everything.
I'd like to know how close to the lot line is this jail gonna be built, because I think that's somewhat irrelevant.
Your Honor, council members, my understanding is that the variance for the setback portion is a request of a 2-foot variance. The setback ordinance requires 20 feet, and the way we have our facility designed currently and what we're working with our architect on is that it would be an 18-foot setback. So we're asking for a 2-foot variance from what the ordinance states, okay? I'd be willing to respond to some of the other comments if that's okay. I don't know if you just want me to answer that one question, but that's
I don't
okay.
care, yeah.
We have been discussing the notion of not having that sidewalk in place for longer than just the 4 weeks. There was a series of meetings publicly that I believe the council was invited to attend. We did send invitations. There was opportunity for access to this information previously. I know Councilperson Detterman was at several of those meetings and saw those comments and those things being discussed, and that was presented as part of the presentation. So this is not a new thing. It was just a matter of formally coming to the council in your chambers was what happened 4 weeks ago. But we've actually been discussing this very publicly for much longer than the 4-week time period that we first came here. So I don't feel like it was a bait and switch or it's something that popped up on us very suddenly. It's something we've just been working through as part of the process. With regards to the other variance that's in place for request, it is a request to vary from the ordinance for parking for our building. The city's parking ordinance is written to determine parking based on the number of square feet of the building. There's going to be between the courthouse and the new law center. I think it would put us over 300 parking spots required by the ordinance. We currently have, I believe, 135 parking spots. We have the ability to return that, but it would, with our current design, it would cause us to come up against the front of the courthouse on the north side. We wouldn't be in front of the courthouse as far as to the east of the building at all, but basically everything directly north of the courthouse would be a parking area, and we want to try to preserve as much of that in lawn and in the park-like atmosphere as possible. We feel that's a really beautiful attribute of that building, and so our current plan has parking provided for, I believe, 125 spots, be a reduction of 10. Most days at our courthouse and law center facility, we never are full. We have a handful of days throughout the year when we have jury trials, when we do have a full parking lot, and there are people that park on the side streets. So there is a time when we have a very full parking lot, but that's not the norm. It's more of the exception. So we do feel like with that 125 spots, we're able to accommodate our regular needs there. I appreciate Councilperson O'Neill's comment about the notifications hadn't been sent out. That was something that we had instructed our architectural firm to handle, and we're under the understanding that they were taking care of that, and they dropped the ball on that. They've taken responsibility for that. My understanding is that the Planning and Zoning Group agreed to meet with them as soon as those notifications had been sent, and that they would adjourn a special meeting to address those requests for both the parking and for the setbacks. So I believe that the process is underway to get that addressed, as Councilperson Connell mentioned. And then with regards to why not just move the building, well, it's really a combination of all the above. We know that we need a certain amount of building in order to meet the county's needs for the long-term future. And to fit that building on this existing property and stay within our existing property and still be able to maximize the parking available to not only the people that work in these facilities, but also to the public that use these facilities on a very regular basis. That's why we're crowding in that variance for the setback by that 2 feet. That's why we're arranging this the way that we are. It also, part of it has to do with trying to keep our existing law center open and functional until we have the new one completed and we can move in and then remove the existing facility. So we're bound by that facility and not being able to use any of that footprint in our new construction. And so that does have some limiting factors on the way we have to design our building and how we can situate it on this property. We've been very, very thoughtful. We've tried to call in some of the very best experts that we can to assist us in this process. We feel like we have an excellent plan in place. We feel very good about the progress we're making. So, we continue to work hard on this project, and we certainly do appreciate consideration. I'd be happy to take any additional questions.
I'd just like to add a point of clarification. It is a county building, but the city of Clinton uses 80+% of this facility. It's just as much our facility that it is anybody else's. Just got to keep that in mind.
Well, the residents of the city certainly voted very strongly to support the bond referendum, and we're appreciative of that as well. I think it was 78% of the voters within the city of Clinton voted to approve this project. And there have been changes from what was presented. The concepts, I believe, generally are very much the same. We've worked out some efficiencies and we've worked out some cost-saving long-term efforts. And those results of those decisions have been the changes that you've seen if you've been following along. But the concepts and the intentions are very much the same.
Dan, I have one question. That meeting that you was referring to with Tom, that was different than the kind of meeting I went to up there when I visited with you and Margaret and saw the plans. This was some different meetings?
We had the educational pre-referendum meetings. Is that what you were referring to?
I don't know.
If I recall?
Where I came up into the...
No, that was separate from the educational meetings.
Yeah, that was the pre-referendum education that we conducted, trying to give our residents throughout the county, not just in the city of Clinton, the opportunity to become informed and be able to make an informed decision. Since that time, we've conducted a meeting with a number of the administrative staff of the city, petitioning their input about our design, about our plans, any feedback, concerns that they have, we work to address and be prepared for the process of moving through these variances and these other requests that we're making. My understanding was that we had sent that out and intended to have all of the council invited to participate or be there to learn and understand what our plan was. And then we had a public meeting August 29th, I think, no. Yeah, the end of August, we had a public meeting. It was prior to when we came into the council. That was here on a Monday night in Clinton, and then we had one on Tuesday night in DeWitt. And we had one the month before, the end of July, out in DeWitt as well. That was very much public education. These are the updates of the revisions. This is how we're moving our plan forward. And I think by the time we had that meeting open to the public, it was advertised well in the local media. That we were having that, and by that time, the end of July, we'd already figured out that having a sidewalk in proximity to the Sally Port and that close to the back of this building was going to cause some safety concerns, and recommendations from our design architects and from our sheriff that they had concerns about the function of that building, the liabilities that may exist. We know that people ride their bicycles on the sidewalks as well. There's not a bicycle lane there, and so, whether it's a person walking and moving along that pedestrian corridor of a sidewalk and coming into contact with a squad car or other, or whether it's a bicycle that's much harder to see in that area. You know, there's a number of different layers and levels of concern there. I'm not the safety expert. I'm trying to, you know, represent those concerns and those motivations of that request. I certainly feel very well informed about the project. I've been active with it ever since I took office, and actually well before I took office. So we do appreciate your consideration, though.
Dan, what happens to your design if you have to leave the sidewalk there?
The biggest impact would be with the design itself. I believe that the access to the loading docks becomes much steeper and has some implications there. There was some concerns about the ability to meet ADA requirements with regards to the sidewalk. They do believe they figured out a way to do that, but it would likely require some retaining walls and some other effort to change the grade or the level of that sidewalk and stretch those grade changes over a longer distance. So I know that our design team, in an effort to be prepared for any outcome of the decision by the council, has worked to identify, you know, a solution. But I think really the safety concerns were the driving force behind the request. It wasn't about the cost of the sidewalk. I think that my project manager consulted with me, and he estimated about $25 per linear foot to reinstall the sidewalk. We expect that it would be damaged during our construction process due to the nature of the equipment and the construction that's going to be occurring right there. So it would, you know, not be our intent to remove the sidewalk per se, but we do expect that if it has to be there, we would have to replace it based on the nature of the construction. And that's our problem isn't so much with, you know, the sidewalk cost or any of those things. It's I think the safety concerns that have been addressed. So.
And I guess I brought this up last week, and I guess I've not been convinced by the answer I heard. You still are going to have people that are walking down the sidewalk. All of a sudden the sidewalk stops. They're going to continue walking across the driveway, across the grass, walking behind the squad cars or whatever that's parked there on these angle spots that I think are actually very dangerous because they're all going to back out into 6th Avenue North. You know, isn't it a concern you're not going to see some people that you assume aren't there because there is no sidewalk, and you're not going to stop these people from walking there. And you're not going to stop bicycles from riding on 6th Avenue North, and all you've done, they're only a couple feet different from being, they shouldn't be on the sidewalk anyway, so they actually just as dangerous, they're still in the street.
My understanding is that the reason for bringing the sidewalk down from the east was that we have that sidewalk that is fire and safety emergency exit from the south side of the courthouse, and so to connect that sidewalk that exits the courthouse with the sidewalk infrastructure that's in place is why they would desire to leave that there. Certainly, there could be signs put into place on the county property that says there's no through, you know, passage on that sidewalk or something to that effect. I think that we can work to address those things and overcome those things. But it would be the desire of the county to divert the through traffic on that sidewalk either across the street or around the north side of the building, as opposed to immediately adjacent to the back side of that secure area.
And my last question still goes back to the Sally Port that's on the north side. You enter it by driving in, but you exit it by backing up, which is one of the most dangerous maneuvers in the world, is to go back, and you're actually backing across the sidewalk. Where this Sally Port, you're going to drive in and you're driving out, so the people are, you're not, in no time are you in reverse. I'm actually very worried about your squad cars or whatever is parked there in those 18 spots backing out into 6th Avenue North. So I see other safety
We have
concerns.
the same style of parking along 5th Avenue South.
Right. So, and
I mean, I guess at that
we
point,
have-
why
we
do we
didn't
have
take-
that parking along 5th Avenue South if it's such a hazard at that
well, we have
location on 6th
a
Avenue North?
sidewalk for the people to walk on. We didn't take
And
the
there would be a
sidewalk.
sidewalk in place for those vehicles parked, for those staff.
No, I'm
and-
talking about the people walking on the street that are walking down the sidewalk. You've taken their sidewalk away, or they actually go up and
What we're
sidewalk
asking is,
along.
what we're asking is we, you know, work to divert that traffic across the street to the other sidewalk. And with regards to the safety of the current Sally Port versus the future one, and I think the chief addressed that a little bit with his comment. about, you know, being a slower rate of speed when you're backing and really a different type of scenario. I don't know anything about the discussions that took place back in the late 60s about the current design of our facility. A lot of us would really like to meet those people and not necessarily shake hands, because some of those decisions obviously didn't work out to be very thoughtful and very well put together. But we do believe that this is the modern approach, that this is the latest, you know, style of facility. We're trying to be very planful, very thoughtful in doing this so that it's efficient economically to operate, efficient for movement within the facility, efficient for use by the public, and safe at all times is our #1 priority.
Anybody else have any other comments?
I have one
Okay.
regarding, we hire a chief of police, we ask his opinion. He is our expert. I think it's time we listen to him.
And like I said, my opinion is if you have a choice of a sidewalk or no sidewalk at a holding facility or where you're coming in and out with prisoners, my recommendation is not to have a sidewalk for public safety.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's no other comments,
Thank you, Dan.
we'll have roll call vote, please. Let me clarify what we're voting on. A yes vote will move a resolution forward to the next council meeting to give them a variance and eliminate the sidewalk. A no vote will not move a resolution forward. So I want to make sure we understand what they're voting for. So, could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Gassman,
No.
Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
No.
Detterman,
No.
O'Neill,
No.
Connell,
Yes.
Allison.
Yes.
The vote is 4 no and 3 yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. And now we're gonna move to one other item that we're gonna move up the list as long as Jason is in the room. It's item number 6B, a referral from the Planning Commission. It's for an alley vacation at 315 Ruth Place. Now, this doesn't mean you get to go home early, because some of the other ones are gonna stay on here for a while.
I was gonna ask if you guys cared if I left after this item.
We can carry your items over to the next meeting.
All right.
Technically, the other two are my items, not his, so.
But they all say.
Yeah, it's
Jason
a
Petty.
typo. Mr. David Martinson and Judy Johnson, who are in attendance tonight, they came in to talk about their usage and perhaps maintenance of this city alley. They have maintained a driveway. As you can see, they've got even their concrete driveway approach that enters this area, which is the city alley that I've highlighted in yellow, surrounded in red. They use that as their driveway to their home and to their parking area out back. They have a retaining wall that also extends, and evidently the city allowed them to construct that in the alley right of way. So that's not a maintained alley. It's actually maintained by Mr. Martinson and Ms. Johnson there. So I just thought it might be a better idea for them to actually own this rather than to enter into some sort of maintenance agreement with the city. The city has no interests in this alley. We don't, it's not ever gonna be improved. We do need to maintain an electric utility easement, through there, and so we've talked to Lien about that and Mr. Martinson. And so both parties would agree to that. So I don't see any conflicts here. The neighbors, we've talked to the other neighbors to the north. They have no interest in that segment of the alley. So I think the only person who stands to benefit from this and who uses it and should own it, in my opinion, is the David Martinson and Judy Johnson. So I presented this to the Plan Commission. They unanimously approved it, and it is here before you tonight. Any questions?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Is there currently now, or is there any reasonably perceived garbage collection that goes up and down that alley?
No.
Either by the city or private haulers?
No, nobody uses that, like I said, except for
Okay.
the tenants or the owners of the property just to the south with Judy and David. So,
Well, the part that's not gonna be
no,
vacated,
no, that's,
would it be prohibitive that they would have to make a turn where that 14 is, because that
you couldn't
now,
do it. the terrain is very treacherous.
Okay.
So Jason, really, the other two, it looks like alleys that we're seeing,
Yeah.
those are not drivable alleys.
No one uses those. There is a
Okay.
car though parked in one of them.
Well, I saw that.
But no one, the only difference is, none of the abutting property owners to those two segments of the alley have any interest whatsoever that I know of in the alley.
Does
So-
anybody mow it now?
Oh, they mow their own, they use it as their backyard
Okay.
and that, so.
But-
Really, it's just, they use this alley heavily, and if I were using the alley, I'd want to own it too, so I think it's fair and just and right, and the, like I said, the utility easement could be maintained, and one condition of this they would not be able to build a structure upon the vacated easement. Any other
Make a
questions?
motion to move it ahead.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second to move this on. Is there any other discussion or questions of Jason? Hearing none, could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Detterman,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Gassman.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, does that get us caught up on everybody that?
It gets us caught up on everybody that's here, but I would really prefer to complete A and C as well, as there
Okay.
are multiple things dependent upon those actions.
Okay.
And, given the time that we're at.
Okay, so let's go to number 6A, which would be the final plat of Fourth Avenue Loft subdivision.
Yes, Fourth Avenue Lofts, this is the proposed multifamily residential complex that would go on the, north side of Fourth Avenue between Second and Third Streets. This is proceeding along quite well. The one issue that we ran into was initially we did not think that they needed to replat, and then upon review of our ordinance, indeed they do. I think there are 5 separate lots that are there. Ultimately, they determined that their lender was going to require them to do that as well. So what this proposed plat is doing really is taking all of these separate lots and creating them into Lot 1 of the Fourth Avenue Loft subdivision. And so it is a subdivision that will just consist of that one lot. And then what that does is it creates a streamlined legal description for their creditors as well.
Anybody have any questions? Does anyone wish to move this forward?
Make a motion to move it forward.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other further discussion? Hearing none, could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember McGraw,
Yes.
Detterman,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Gassman.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
Okay, and then we will go to item 6C, which is the alley vacation at 612 North Second Street.
Yes, this is an interesting one that just purely came about by just looking at our GIS system and realizing that alleys had never been vacated. Leah Woods, bless her heart, she went back and did a whole bunch of research because there were plat maps that she had that showed that the alleys had been vacated. The city assessor would not remove them from the GIS system until we presented an ordinance showing that it had been done. And Leah went back into the history, and something happened in 1947 when new plat maps were done that literally erased the alleys, but there was no formal action of the council to eliminate those alleys and vacate those alleys. And so ultimately at this point, those alleys have no public use to us or to the residents of the city. They run through that property and are effectively part of that property. And so there's nothing that would be denied to the abutting property owners through a vacation. And so that's where we are recommending that the alleys be vacated for 612 North Second Street.
So who's gonna own it?
It would be owned by the county.
Okay. Does that help increase their footprint for the courthouse, or no?
No, because they run literally through the property. Neither one of them, or neither of the alleys are actually on an exterior except for when they
You'd have a
empty
hard
onto
time
the
driving
street.
through this part anyhow.
What?
It's right through the courthouse.
Yeah, it goes right through the
We gotta
courthouse.
open
You'd
the
have a
front
hard
door and
time
go out
driving
the
through
back
there.
door, you know.
Oh, it's right on the back of your packet.
So
That's a
the,
pretty expensive alley.
Yeah.
yeah, so the courthouse is sitting in an alley.
I
Well-
move it forward to vacate it.
We haven't collected any tax on it or anything?
There's a motion. Did we have a second?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
Is there any other questions or wanting to know about when we can go up and drive through the courthouse with our cars? Hearing no other comments, could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember McGraw,
Yes.
Detterman,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Glassman.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we have 3 items left: strategic plan, vacant and abandoned building, and an installation of a stop sign. What's the most important thing you want to get to?
I think Jason left, I believe,
Is he
so-
still in the building? Let's see if he's still in
What
the
do you wanna do,
building.
the stop sign?
Well, I was
The
thinking
stop
if we
sign?
can get his item done and,
Yeah.
and he can leave, then we could go through the strategic
Yep.
plan.
What about the vacant building?
That can be carried over to another council meeting.
All right.
I mean, it's really up to you as to whether you would want to address the vacant and abandoned building ordinance or the strategic
I think
plan.
we should address it quickly because there's a couple.
Did Jason, he's here?
Yeah. They put it,
Clock's ticking.
they put in a yield sign.
This is pretty typical.
She wants a stop sign. They were still saying the yield sign. We don't-
Maybe we should make him wait till 10 o'clock. We're trying to let you go home early.
He was home.
And you already left.
No, I didn't leave. I was talking to Dan about something unrelated to the jail. What?
Okay, we're gonna talk about this installation of a stop sign at 1100 16th Avenue Northwest.
I got a letter from the property owners. The X on their roof there.
Where's the X?
That's on the roof on the top.
Top
That's
left.
the top one.
Oh, okay.
Could you give us a little perspective? Is that the village co-op down in the lower left
Yeah,
corner?
this is the church, the Prince of Peace Catholic Church, right?
That road there, is that the road
Yeah,
over to
and
there?
you can see Fairway and everything down
Okay,
there.
okay, thank you.
So they just complain that people speed through their subdivision and, not even just before and after church, but just all the time and cut through the parking lot. And they've got kids that play in the street,
They don't, because they.
in the neighborhood.
Parking lot.
And so they requested a stop sign be placed at this location. There's a yield sign there now. So, Traffic Study Commission approved that a stop sign be placed there. Doesn't matter to me one way or the other.
Traffic committee.
It didn't
request-
say
They didn't, the Traffic Study Commission approved a yield sign, recommended
Right.
another yield sign, not the stop sign recommendation.
The yield sign's already there. Am I mistaken somehow?
I saw the
This-
second yield sign.
Yeah, this was what Leah gave me for this item, that the request is born out of a prior request for a yield sign in the same area. The yield sign was installed, but not where the requester intended. Therefore, she is requesting a stop sign. The Traffic Study Commission is recommending another yield sign.
I misremembered that, but
Or did it
so
have the other yield
what they
sign?
want is another yield sign
Probably,
at this
yeah.
corner, which that I do not agree with. I feel like that's getting really confusing. I think that we need to, I would not be in favor of that, I guess. I
we
think the
bring
purpose of the initial yield sign was just so people pulling up here would not always have the right of way, that they would yield to pedestrians and traffic,
And
as would be the purpose of the stop sign, but.
In the correspondence from Ms. Spain, it sounds like they wanted a stop sign instead of a yield sign, and the traffic commission has it as a second yield sign.
But yeah, but I mean, how many
There
yield?
seems to be
They're
some.
yielding,
many
I
you
think
want?
they're recommended for the second time would be a yield sign, but one of the, is there still a gate on Lametta?
No.
At the parking
I
lot?
don't know if there's a gate there.
Yes, there's a
There
gate
was
there.
There's a gate there that's closed that stops the traffic from
They
going
don't
through
close it.
there all the time.
It's not
No,
closed
they
all
don't
the time.
close it anymore. It's because of the egress situation.
So,
Ah.
I apologize for my mistake, but the question is, I guess the Traffic Study Commission, so I guess the Traffic Study Commission wants another yield sign at this corner. But The original request was for the stop sign.
They put a yield sign.
Personally, I believe it's fine like it is. It's nothing, I've not known of any accidents there. So,
So you wouldn't recommend a second yield sign?
no, I would not recommend a second yield sign. Stop
Is it-
sign wouldn't be
is
the
it-
end of the world if you want to accommodate some tax-paying citizens.